What's up, everybody, and welcome back to All Things NBA from A to Z, presented by Ball is Life. I'm Kris and here alongside Zach Noble. Today, we are going to redraft another NBA draft. Last time we did 2022. You can check that out on the All Things NBA YouTube, wherever you stream your podcast audio wise. Today, we're going to go a year back in time. We're going to do the 2021 NBA draft. And I think to start off, a quick note about this draft class is that I remember when the 2020 draft class was going on, people were saying, don't trade up in this draft class. Don't go up to the top for LaMelo or Ant because next year's draft class is crazy. I was one of those people saying that the 21 draft class projected to be so much better than the 20 draft class. And looking back, I don't I
It's
think I think
not accurate.
the 2020 class was deeper than this one and had more
Top
star
talent.
power and had more top talent also. I think it was a better draft class in every way.
Yes.
Which is
100%.
hilarious. So you never know. People don't know anything. And the draft is a crapshoot and the best you can do is just guess. So with that said, Zach, my friend, welcome back to All Things NBA. Let's get cooking. Let's figure out before we redraft the lottery, the first 14 picks of the 2021 NBA draft class, who is picking first? Can you give me a side of a coin?
Heads. I'm
Siri,
consistent.
flip a coin. Heads. Mr.
Boom.
Zach, you have the number one overall pick in our redraft. Sir, who will it
So
be
this,
and why?
yeah, I like this draft because there's so much unknowns yet. Like I was pretty certain all the way through my 2022, there wasn't much debate for me. There was debates with you, but for me, like I was super confident in every position throughout. This one, not so much, honestly. Especially the first six or seven guys, honestly, because um, th- their floor is still pretty wide open, and their ceilings, I think they have a long ways to go yet. Like they're just a lot of I don't know, direction they could go. There, yeah, it's not as consistent as the last one. Let's just put it that way. So my tier one, honestly, there's five guys in this tier one. You could probably talk me into six or seven in tier one, maybe even eight in this tier one with their ceiling. But like combining ceiling and floor, I'm pretty confident in the five guys I got in my tier one. So number one overall pick is tough because there's one guy that's for sure an all-star. There's two or three guys that are winning players on winning teams right now, or semi-winning teams, or have shown signs of that. And then there was a guy that was a borderline all-star. So number one overall pick, I'm going with the guy that I think I just know is going to be good once he gets talent around him. And I think it's a make or break year for him. It's Cade Cunningham for me. I'm keeping it the guy that was number one on my board before the draft. I'm staying consistent with that. And I think he's shown me enough, even though he hasn't played a ton of games compared to some of the other guys, too. That's another thing. 64, 12 games, 62. His efficiency is not great. I'd love to see his 3-point percentage get in the upper 30s. I just think this year he's got the talent around him finally. So there's no excuses to not win at least 30 games. If he doesn't win 30 with this team, like I blame most of it on him. But like
Really?
I do, yeah. I just think,
I don't think
sorry.
he's got some stud supporting cast. He was number one on my board too. So we're
Okay.
we're in lockstep there to start at least. We know that's going to go to shit maybe as soon as the next pick. Um, but we agree on the number one player. It's still Cade. That said, I don't know that like okay, Weaver left behind such a mess. And I
It's a
know
mess, but it's
they
better
spent
than what it's been.
money. They got Malik Beasley and they got Tobias
Tobias
Harris.
Harris.
and Osar Thompson's going into year 2, and Jalen Duren hopefully will be more playable on the defensive end of the court. There are so many question marks outside of Cade himself in Ivy and Duren in terms of how good they'll be. That I don't like. If they won 28 games, I would probably still be in on Cade.
Ooh,
Just like preliminarily
you
saying
said
that.
21 games?
28.
Okay. All right. That's a 2 game difference from what I said. So I'm not gonna
Well,
pickaxe
you
you.
get you gave 30 like a minimum. And I'm saying
Yeah,
if they were under that, I think I wouldn't jump ship. And maybe
fair.
it's just our pre-draft bias talking because I do think that how you thought of a guy before a draft kind of sticks with you forever. Like me personally, I'm like, yeah, Killian Hayes is gonna make the Nets roster. Like he won't star for that team or whatever, but he'll make this. Like you know, like
He better.
no matter how much evidence there is, pre-draft bias is definitely very real. Um, that said,
Was it much of a debate for you at number one?
no, not for me.
Wow.
I think we've talked about this before that Scotty Barnes had a huge leap last year, and it still was not enough to close the gap. I think Cade should have won Rookie of the Year. I think Cade should be the number 1 pick in a redraft. Um, and yeah, there are some other guys, 2 guys in this draft class that got paid mega bucks this offseason as well. Um, Other than Scotty. And for me, it's like, no, you still go Cade because those guys, if Cade got drafted to their situations, they would be swapped with him in terms of how we see them. So
So
yeah,
is Scotty your number 2 pick?
with the number 2 pick in the 2021 NBA redraft, the Kris Persianens select Evan Mobley.
Wow.
I'm going with Evan Mobley, number
That's
2
what this
overall.
that's what the show needed.
We're
That's what the
going with
show needed.
we're going with Evan Mobley, number 2 overall, and here's why. When you take a look at where he's been
Mm.
situated so far, let's ignore all possible talk about the team, whatever. Like just Mobley himself. He was always going to need time to fill out horizontally in proportion to his vertical size. And he was always going to need time in the league to become a little bit less of a jack of all trades, master of none, and to become like a jack of all trades, master of one or two. And so for me with Evan Mobley, the growth has been there. He has never had a season in his 3 years in the league where dunks and threes EPM has rated him below the 87th percentile defensively. He's never had a season where in overall EPM he's ranked below the 79th percentile overall. And so since this guy came in the league, he's been like in the top fifth of the league in terms of impact on the court. And he's not yet playing the position, which is the 5 that I think long term he'll be the most valuable at. Because this is a redraft, we have to take into account the fact that Jarrett Allen is good at playing center. I would think he's worth probably about 24 to 25 million dollars per season. And I think he was just given 30 to 31 million dollars a year by an organization that was kind of cornered into overvaluing him. Um, I guess this is like original reporting. The Cavs told Donovan they'd upgrade Jarrett Allen this offseason. And that was part of why Donovan re-signed.
I didn't hear that. That's
I know you
incredible.
didn't.
Nice little nugget.
So, because they just extended him, it's clear that despite their wishes, they're more invested in Jarrett Allen over the years than they would like to be. With all that said, he's a good player who's worth a lot of money. I think Hartenstein is like a little better than him. So like that's a very good center. And that's a top 10 center. I think he's a top 10 center. So for Mobley, it makes sense to have him at the 4. He doesn't yet exist in a basketball context where it makes sense to have him struggle at the 5. I think having him struggle at the 4, which has been shown by his offensive performances throughout the year, decently high usage rate, not a offensive efficiency or production level that kind of matches his usage. Um, and that's okay because I do think he's going to improve long term. If he fills out a little more, or if he gets more adept on the ball, either of which will come in time, in my opinion, with being a professional basketball player, he will be someone we look at the way that people used to look at Jaren Jackson Jr., who I think has kind of plateaued in a bad way in regards to his rebounding and shooting, neither of which are as good as they need to be for him to be the kind of player he's talked about. I think Mobley can actually be like Jaren Jackson Jr. in regards to what he does out there and what Jaren Jackson's supposed to be. For Mobley right now, a lot of his shots are coming from 3-point land, more than is typical for someone who plays in the front court. That's a
You're
result
saying
of
Mobley?
yeah, more of his. He's taking more threes than he should be. If he were
No, he's
optimized,
not taking enough, if very much. He's averaging literally 1.8 a game.
he should be taking like one. Like you
Why not? He's been hitting them 37, 38%.
on that small of a sample size, the
Right.
percentage means nothing to me. I'm
That's
saying
fine. I'm
one
okay with
day
that.
he's going to be at the 5 where his shots overall are more efficient. And then once he's a better shooter, he can take 2 or more threes per game. But right now, I don't think he's as good of a shooter as would justify the proportion of his shots that come from 3. And so for me personally, I think this is a case of the Cleveland Cavaliers made an error and bet that Mobley would be much better than he is now last year. And that's why they went all in for Donovan Mitchell. Maybe they made that move independent of Mobley. For me, I think Mobley was baked into that.
He
Uh,
had to be. He
they
had to be.
thought they thought he would leap sooner. I think that has resulted in the public undervaluing Evan Mobley. I think that once he's given the time he needs to be, which to me entails after this season. If after this season, by the end of the year, he's stinking it up offensively based on how much he gets the ball and blah, 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 okay, we can have the conversation. For right now, I'm still all in on him becoming an all-star caliber big man in this league. I think he's just made for what the NBA is becoming, especially once he gets to the 5 slot. So I'm taking Mobley with my first pick, the number 2
All right.
overall pick here.
I love it. Uh, I'm with most of what you said outside of the 3-point shooting. I think his scoring is fine. Like a lot of people expect way too much out of Evan Mobley. I think he came in the league. Would you agree he was the best rookie of this class, correct? He was so polished year one, mainly defensively. Who was
I
better
was
than
gonna
him
say
year one?
defensively he was incredible year one.
Right. Was he
Offensively
the
he
best
he
player in this class year
stunk.
one?
Sure, sure,
Okay, that's all I'm asking. Okay.
sure.
His role is really not asked to do much offensively, which is disappointing. And I just think he's doing a fine job with what he's been given. I don't expect more out of him, but like I'd like to see that develop, and I do think he has it in him. Are you saying his ceiling is Jaren Jackson Jr., or you say like similar?
No, I think he'll become the kind of player that people thought Jaren Jackson Jr. would. Jaren Jackson Jr. could still become
He's
that
very good.
player.
Jaren Jackson Jr. is very good.
I think the way he was talked about, and it still is talked about, is above the reality of what he is.
Yeah, I agree. Also agree to that. Okay. We're on page then. I will ask you this. Uh, do you think Evan Mobley currently is like the fourth best player in this class? Just at the moment, redraft aside, the third best player. I mean, because I thought he should have won Defensive Player of the year two.
Oh,
He finished third. I thought he should have won it that year.
I
Not
think
last year,
that's
the
his
year
I think
before.
that's his worst defensive season.
He got third in it. He was all defensive team one, and last year he only played 50 games. So
I know, but I'm going based off what we have.
okay,
Obviously he didn't
I'm
qualify.
not I'm not arguing with that take, but
I will say I will say that in terms of best players right now, are we factoring in what role they play, or are we just talking
just
best at what they do or
right,
best
exactly
overall?
how they are right now, just what they do right now. Like I would be okay if you said he was the third best player
Herb
or
Jones is
second.
better at his role than Mobley is at
He's
his role,
his role is arguably a bench player. I mean,
or a
night and
starter.
day.
Okay, so then we are factoring role into this. So like Mobley gets more credit because he has a bigger role. You're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. So then I will say
Like
top
impact. Mobley's impact is as
top
good.
four.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
You can argue Evan Mobley has the greatest impact in this class at the moment, in my opinion. You can. I'm not saying he's the best player right now, but his floor is as high as anyone, in my opinion. I think his defense is that good, and it's only going to get better. And I think his offensive
I don't know that
game
you
can
can
only improve.
argue that Mobley's impact is higher than Franz Wagner's. I mean, you can argue
It's
anything.
close. It's so close. I truly think it's man. The Cavs defense was great, and he's the main reason because Jared Allen missed a lot of games.
Right.
I think his impact's just as much as Franz. I really do.
Okay. Okay.
It's close. It's close, and yeah, I think it's just as equal to Scotty Barnes, but Şengün might be higher than all of them, honestly, for impact currently. Anyways, last question on Evan Mobley. Do you think he can play the three? Or will he ever be able to play the three?
No.
Okay, that's an easy answer. All right, so moving on to number 3 in this draft. That's going to be our biggest argument, and I'm okay with it because I just don't think Mobley is on track to hit a ceiling I had for him. He was number 3 on my pre-draft board. He on my redraft board, he's number 6 for me. After everything I just said nicely about him, he's number 6 for me. And part of that, it comes down to ceiling for Evan Mobley. His floor is higher than a couple of the guys ahead of him right now, but yeah, it is what it is. So number 3, I am taking LP, Alperen Şengün. And the reason why is a mixture of floor and ceiling. I think Cade's got an equal ceiling, if not a little higher than Şengün. And Scotty Barnes is right there too from a ceiling perspective. But their floor, I think he's got a higher floor than Cade. No, Scotty's floor is pretty equal as well. So yeah, he's number 3 for me, but I just still there's such a mess of direction they're gonna go in Houston. I don't think they're sold on running the offense through him. And that's why I couldn't take him number 1. Like he's in my tier 1 here. I'd be okay if you take him 1 in a redraft. I really would be. I like him that much, but I'm not sold on Houston being sold on running their entire team through this guy. I think they could trade the guy. I think they could go away from him. Like Houston wants to win now, and they're going to select the path that gets there, whether they think it's Jalen Green or Thompson or Cam Whitmore, even or any of these dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many guys on this team that can pop off in my mind. Their direction is so uncertain, so that's why he's number 3 for me.
Okay. I get it. I'm a little lower on Şengün
Wow.
because of, for me, it's about the fact that okay, I will start with my bias, which is that Amen Thompson is like a very unique basketball player, freak athlete, amazing impact metrics year 1 as a rookie, amazing offensive rebounder, amazing playmaker, reader of defenses, passer, athlete, amazing dunker, all of that, right? And I think that Şengün is more of an obstacle than an aid in regards to building a championship level team that includes Amen Thompson. And so because of that, I think I'm biased against Şengün because of the archetype that he fits. He reminds me of a better Nikola Vucevic, which to me translates to like Domantas Sabonis's amount of impact. And as great of a player as Sabonis is, I'm tempted to say that he's more of a regular season dominator than a playoff riser. And because of that, Şengün kind of took a hit in terms of where I had him in this redraft. Um, Obviously, taking him at 3 is totally fine to me, but it's not because of who's still on the board. So like in a
That's
vacuum,
fair.
someone like Şengün at 3 is like, okay, yeah, you're gonna get fine value on that. I think if the Rockets had taken him at number 2 overall, they would still regret it. Like I think you go down swinging on Jalen Green, not on someone like Şengün. Now, back end of the top 10 of this draft, Şengün's a steal. And I think that's where you want to wind up with someone like that. Unless, of course, you're like the 5th or 6th pick and your team stinks and whatever. But we're not taking into account what the team would be. We're just redrafting the players. And so for me
Correct.
personally, I would go with a couple other guys over Şengün, which I'll illustrate to you
That's fair.
with
This
my
guy's
picks.
only gotten better year after year. Um,
Correct.
I love the ceiling.
His
I
offensive impact this past year was the best it's ever been in his 3 years. And what you said about getting better and better every year, it's true overall. It's true just offensively, and it's true just defensively. On both ends of the court, he's improved each of his 3 years. That's a great sign.
Do you think he can ever develop a three ball? I think he can, but I'm not sold on that, and that definitely is a reason why I accept other guys ahead of him.
I think he'll space the floor out to the mid range,
Then I don't know if his ceiling is even Vucevic, if that's what you're saying.
but he's
Because
so
I
much
mean,
better of a passer.
not so much. He's better a little bit. I mean,
He's
Vooch is
definitely
very
I think
underrated of the past.
I I think I think Vooch is underrated in a lot of ways, but I think the way he's underrated the most is as like a big body, not as an offensive player.
It's fair. He's a better rebounder. LP could be a better passer. That's fair.
I think Alpi's definitely a better passer. For me, personally, with my second pick, the 4th pick of this draft, I'm going to take who was 3rd on my board. So in with the 2nd and 4th picks, I've got the 2nd and 3rd players on my board. No surprise here based on what I said earlier. I'm going with Franz Wagner here with the 4th pick. I think that he is going to be the next on the list of NBA fans, not unfairly, like reasonably combining overpaid with overrated. I think he's very good. I think for the next 2 years, we will consider him to not be totally worthy of the extension he got. I think it doesn't matter. And that's because if you put defense to the side, and we know his defense is very good, offensively, he's gotten better every year. His first year, he was decent offensively. His second year, he had the ball way more and he was better. His third year, he had the ball way more and was just as good as in his second year. And so for it to scale up and up and up to me tells me that it can also scale down. And that if this Magic team ever adds some star talent at the guard position, or you get a huge leap out of Anthony Black or whatever it is, this guy is going to work in your starting lineup. He's going to be a very good player. He is better than a lot of the wings that accompanied star guards and bigs to deep playoff runs over the years, the last decade. I think this guy is worth your time, is worth your development. And to me, I would have gone with him at 3rd overall after Cade and Mobley. So this is a nice pick for me here at the 4 slot. What do you think?
I'm completely okay with it. My hot take for Franz is being he's in my tier one. There's one more guy in my tier one. I would have been okay with you taking him number one because he is that good already, and I think he still has a little more to go. I don't think he has a lot more to go, like a lot of people do. I'm in the camp that he might never make an all-star game, but he could make one or two. With that said, the thing that throws me off about him more than anything, I think he's an incredibly smart player. I think he's just good everywhere besides his three-point shooting. He regressed like a mofo last year. I mean, went from 35 to 28. And he shoots a decent amount of attempts, like
He was so much better on the inside this past season that to
You're
me it evens
absolutely.
out. It evens out to me.
I mean, his overall field goal percentage is 0.03 less than it was the year before. I mean, his 2 point
You've
percentage
got to
went
think
up.
about the role he's filling offensively on that Magic team and how when that team is built to be a very good team, he's not going to have the kind of usage. What did he have this past season?
I got it right.
25.2 usage. So
You think his usage is going to go down?
if they get a star, like
I
what
think
if
they're
this is a
paying him. He's to
yes,
become the star. Him and
but
Paulo have to be the
what
star.
if this team going into the 25-26 season is Trey, Suggs, Franz, Paulo, and a cheap big like Mo Wagner?
Then he goes backwards. Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying is if this
And his
Magic
3-point
team
percentage goes up.
if this Magic team keeps adding pieces as if they're trying to be very good right now, then you're going to see him have the kind of impact he had in his third year with the kind of usage he had in his first year, which is like a 21 usage. That's where I'm at.
His per 100 and per 36 are pretty nasty. The guy, I think he does have more to give. But like advanced stats wise, like still a bit questionable. I mean, still could be more efficient. I mean, I don't know. There's still, would you be giving him this contract on any team? I wouldn't be. I will tell you that. I'm in on the contract because it's the Orlando Magic.
So okay, yeah. So like here's the thing is if he were on a different team, let's say there's 10
48
teams,
million in
let's
year
say there's
four.
at least 10 teams where he wouldn't have had as big of an offensive role as he did this past year. Okay, he would have been really good and he would have gotten himself like 30, 32 a year, right? But he wouldn't have qualified production wise for this kind of deal because he'd be on a better team that doesn't have the extent of need for his offensive production that Orlando does. I think you're going to look at this team with KCP and think they're a lead guard away from doing something serious. And whether it's someone on the Anthony Simons level of player or the Trae Young level of player, whoever it is they get, um, long term, you're going to think, yeah, Franz just fits in any lineup. Like this is the kind of guy where, by the end of this extension, they're going to be like glad they got him locked up to this amount.
I'm not sold he fits on every team ever though. I mean, his
Don't
passing
have to.
ability almost puts him there, and his defense, but he needs 3-point shooting around him right now.
They're working on it. Jet Howard
Oh yeah,
will exist. Tristan Da Silva coming in.
KCP,
KCP, they paid big money. Like they're working on it.
fair. No,
Da
I
Silva,
still love the
Howard,
Trae Young idea.
if Howard's in the rotation, KCP obviously is. And if Da Silva plays, that's three more 3-point shooters than they had last year
Give him
in the
Anthony
rotation.
Simons even. Fuck, that guy would do wonders for
But
him.
Simons and Paolo defensively, oh my God. You're letting anyone
You
through to
don't
the
believe
rim.
in Paulo defensively? Wow,
You do?
forgot about that. I absolutely.
Carajo. I
This
got
is
nothing for you, man.
that's we're holding that one for a while.
I got nothing.
That's our long-term play, our Paulo sites. So number 5 here, it's a kind of a wow, holy shit type of thing because I'm really high on Evan Mobley and I had him 6 on my redraft board here. Mainly because Evan Mobley's ceiling's pretty low to me. This guy's ceiling's still incredibly high. He finished the year really strong after a slow start to last year. He's kind of been known for that the last couple of years, but it's Jalen Green. He's the last of
Okay.
my tier 1. Again, he falls here. So I had him 2 pre-draft, and I'm not feeling terrible at that.
I had him 3 behind Mobley, and
Okay.
I'm not like mad at myself. You go down swinging on
Yeah.
guys like that.
Well, like I said, this tier 1 is pretty fluid right now. We have no idea because of their team situation outside of Franz and Scotty are the stable situation, but Scotty doesn't have necessarily a solidified team around him yet because they're so young and um, to be determined with not proving they can win yet and being the number 1 dog on a winning team. Where Franz has proven he's a good number 2 right now on a playoff team, an okay playoff team. Anyways, Jalen Green, I just think this guy can still reach magnificent heights as like a top 25, top 20 guy even. But like, will his defense ever be plus? Will Cam Whitmore outplay him? Will Thompson outplay him? I mean, there's still so much going on here, and it's like I said, it's a make or break year for Cade. It's a make or break year for LP, and then Jalen Green I'd throw in there as well. The other guys, they're gonna get their opportunities, and they'll be as good as they were at least. Where Jalen Green could go completely backwards into the Jordan Clarkson terrible comps that he got, but I liked what I saw last year. He played good with Fred VanVleet. The defense overall on the team was solid. Ime Udoka is going to make him play. It's just he's still got a 14 PER. I mean, 33% from three. Like the dude hasn't shot above 34% from three. That ain't getting it done. So it's tough. So I still believe in his ceiling, but like I said, it's this year or never for him. He's either going to become a bench player after this year, or he's probably going to become a tier below or below all-star maybe. But it's got to come out of the gates really hot because there's guys waiting. Reed Shepard's waiting even to take his spot, or Amin Thompson, So yeah, Houston's got a lot going. But yeah, I like Green's ceiling over Evan Mobley and the rest of the group behind him.
I would say it's not make or break this year for Jalen Green. I think a lot of guys
How
like
not?
him, in like their like mid to late 20s start returning the value that they should.
Name a guy in their late 20s that
Mid to late. It's becoming a thing more and more because kids
you're
come
not
out
talking.
so
You're
early.
not talking Devin Booker, are you?
No, I'm
Don't.
talking like Julius Randle. It's not common, right? It's not common for guys
That's
to.
not a bad. Okay, I was trying to figure out how to tear that one down, but
You
that's
can't.
actually. But no, here's where I'm tearing that down. Is Julius Randle was a power forward, different position.
That's okay.
Um, and Julius Randle actually had a decent skill set of being a passer and rebounder. Like this guy's skill set is scoring, and he can't shoot worth a damn. No, Julius Randle had more consistent high end skill sets, higher end.
Well, like Levine's kind of like the other
Don't
side
you
of the
fuck with
spectrum.
Levine here, man.
That's the other side of the spectrum. I know
Uh,
you love him.
I do,
Um,
but like I think this guy's still got a higher ceiling than Levine, but
oh, for sure, for sure.
will even reach where Levine is at right now. That's to be determined. Like I
I
think
think
if you threw,
I think he's capable, but again, it's about how bad he wants it, right? Because it's all
yeah,
about mid range accuracy. Is the mid range a layup for him? Blah 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 blah.
like are you trading Jalen for Zach Levine right now?
No, I'd rather have Jalen.
That's fine with the contract, completely understandable, and I probably would lean that way too,
If
depending.
if I'm a contender and they're both costing me 12 million a year, I'm taking Levine.
No, what if you're not a contender? What if you're the Houston Rockets?
Jalen Green.
Okay, fair.
I'm
Or are you
gonna.
taking Kobe White?
Oh,
Oh, really? He's Kobe White's still a clear third to me.
I think if I'm a contender, I'm taking Kobe White over either of those guys.
If you're a contender,
Yeah, contract factored in and everything.
man, if you're a shit ass team, I'm taking Kobe White over those two.
Kobe White was as good offensively this past season as Levine was the year before this season when he actually
No,
when he actually played
no,
games. Yeah,
that's
he was worse
that is
defensively than Levine was
erroneous.
somehow. He
What?
was as good offensively.
I couldn't believe that that's even a thing. Like you could be worse than Levine defense.
He found a way. Listen, I'm gonna commit highway robbery here.
All right.
And I told you with the second and fourth picks, I got my second and third players on my board. With the sixth pick, I'm gonna get the fourth player on my board. So I'm going Scotty Barnes. And to
Wait,
me,
what the fuck? Scotty hasn't been taken yet?
yeah, I hope you're proud of that Jalen Green pick, man.
Stop. No, stop, stop, stop. Sorry.
Oh,
So
you're not.
Scotty was not.
Oh, we're not doing takebacks.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
you thought we were doing takebacks?
I thought he'd been mentioned, man. Where the fuck? Oh,
You went Cade.
I fucked
I
this
went
all up.
you.
Ah, sorry.
You went Cade. I went Mobley. You went
God
Alpi. I
damn
went
it,
Franz. You went
bro.
Jalen. I went Scotty.
Okay, so just to set the record straight, it can work out this way, but Scotty Barnes is number 2 on my board.
How did you not
I
take
know.
it?
I just my bad. That's terrible by me.
But
He I just want to say he was number 2, and I would have taken him over Alperen Sengun.
but it took second.
So, God, it move
Uh,
everybody down one. Fuck.
uh, uh.
God damn it! I fucked this whole show.
I'm not letting you undo it either. This is
No,
going
that's
down in the books.
fine.
Scotty
That's fine.
Barnes, number 6. We've seen the improvement. We know what he's gotten better at, the 3-point shooting, overall offensive impact. To me, he's gotten better as a defender every season as well. He took more of his shots from 3 this past season than ever before, and I think it was actually getting to like a good number for him. Rebounding wise, he had his best season this past year. Like he's getting better in all the right ways. You want to see him become really good at a couple things, but right now he's like at that stage, better player, but like he's at that stage that Denny Avdia was at a couple years into his time in the league, where it's like this guy's okay at everything, but he's not elite at anything. Scotty's like good at a bunch of stuff, but he's not elite at anything. Overall, his impact is great. Much better than Denny was at that stage, just saying. But it just reminds me development wise of where he has to go next, which is like really honing in on a thing or two. Whether it continues to be 3-point shooting, personally, I would make it rebounding and his strength and reading the floor as well. But yeah, that's highway robbery. That's Scotty Barnes at number 6.
Yeah, that's just lucky on your behalf. Again, I would have taken him over LP. I would like he's a clear number 2 to me, Scotty Barnes, but it is what it is. He's going 6 in this redraft because we're not redoing the whole thing. But I want to just make a note why he was number 2 to me. It's because he's so good now. His floor, I think he's just as good as Franz right now. He's just as good as LP right now. He's arguably the best player in this draft right now. He's probably the best. I'd probably lean towards the best, but I do disagree. He didn't deserve to be an all-star last year. I am pretty firm on that. But he's just good overall, and his shooting has only improved 28 to 34%. I actually believe he will keep getting better beyond the arc. Um, I where do you think his ceiling lies compared to everybody else? Now that he's the last of tier 1, you sprinkled Evan Mobley in there, but where do you think his ceiling compared to everyone? Because I think his ceiling is probably below Cade and
Mobley,
LP.
his ceiling's
Really?
high. His ceiling's
That's
higher
where
than
we're going to
Schengen.
disagree. You think Mobley's is just as high? Okay.
Yeah, and I think Barnes is higher than Schengen ceiling wise. I would have taken Schengen at
Right.
like the 8th or
No.
7th pick in this at the
Oh,
earliest.
wow. There's another disagreement. I
Maybe
like that.
maybe 6 actually.
Why does he slide for you compared to everybody else?
Because and I know this like feels inherently ass backwards, but to me it's like um to me going Alpi over Trey Murphy or Franz Wagner feels like going with oh, what are some good examples? Maybe like Randall over Derek White or
You know you're Randall, so you like rolling with him.
I love Randall, but the better basketball player today in terms of building a contender is Derek White because he fits in seamlessly.
No, I
Randall and
agree. Evan Mobley
Schengen
fits with way more teams than Scotty Barnes.
Randall and Schengen are great offensive talents that also come with baked in roadblocks in regards to team construction. So give me the complementary piece that fits with anyone. Because ultimately, I think when it comes to offensive impact, you kind of have to view it in the most like nerdy way possible, which is how replaceable is the impact. And for me, I think I can replace Schengen in the aggregate, Moneyball, whatever, more easily than Derek White, or
What do
than
you think is the
these
most?
these other guys like Trey Murphy and Franz and whoever.
All right. What do you think is the most threes Scotty's ever made in the game?
The most threes Scotty Barnes has ever made in a game, I'm gonna go with 8.
Great guess. 7 for 15 last year. Um,
Everyone's gonna get hot in the modern NBA where guys are chucking up so many
Not
shots.
everyone. He's one of few guys of this top of the board here that has gotten in those ranges. But anyways, number seven, this is where my tier two is. My tier two goes from six down to number 10. And number seven, how do I explain this guy compared to the rest? Because this, again, like my tiers are pretty set in stone. It's just my players, like I'm okay with them being mixed around in this one versus 2022. They were pretty easy picks for me. So I'm going with Cam Thomas, number seven, and it's strictly based on his opportunity in Brooklyn.
Okay.
It's strictly his opportunity. The guys below him, you can argue they're just as good right now, I'd say, but his opportunity is arguably the highest besides Cade.
Thomas is definitely lottery for me in this class's redraft. So that automatically means like this is I don't view this as some bad pick or anything. There are a couple guys that I think where you and I differ is you take a more optimistic view on
Oh
guys
yeah.
becoming primary ball handlers. And I take a more pessimistic view in regards to this guy doesn't deserve the kind of usage he's going to need to be good. So don't bother. Like here are some case studies for you. I think before the NBA bubble, you would have been much higher on Jamal Murray than I would have. I also think that
Oh, I had Jamal Murray in my. I think I had him number three pre-draft. Cam Thomas pre-draft. I think I had him number seven. It was seven or
Woo!
eight for me. Yeah.
See,
No, I was
but
the
this is what I'm
highest
saying.
Cam
Like you
Thomas guy.
you buy offense. For
Oh yeah.
me, it's like I think I was probably higher on the Drew and Kristaps ads for Boston than you were like you know what I'm you do you get what I'm saying? Like you're bigger on
Yes and no. I mean, you probably value defense a little more than me, but like at the same time, like
I
Cam
think
Thomas could turn
I think
into.
it's just that I value offense less than you. I don't think it's that I value defense
All
more.
right. I like that. I completely agree. And that's why I love Evan Mobley so much. Like I said, year two, he was defensive player of the year for me. But with that said, Cam Thomas, like he still has so much to prove as a true 23 point per game guy. Like it could just be empty cows on a shitty team for
Yep.
another year or two and then head to the bench and watch his career fade into the abyss. So he's got a long ways to go.
I'm gonna keep it rolling here. So just to recap the first half of the lottery, we've got Cade, Zach, Mobley, Kris, Schengen, Zach, Franz, Kris, Jalen Green, Zach, Scotty, Kris, Cam Thomas, Zach, and with the eighth pick in the 2022 NBA redraft, the Chris Persianens select Trey Murphy the third. He's gonna come on with the eighth pick with our fourth pick of this draft. So Mobley, Franz, Scotty, and Trey Murphy. Got a lot of a lot of wing and forwards going on. But for me with Trey, it's like he's a more likely bet, in my opinion, than Cam Thomas to have value to a contender in the near or distant future. And the reason for that is because Cam Thomas is higher risk, higher reward. Trey Murphy is lower risk, lower reward. But I don't think lower reward is a bad thing because to me, Trey doesn't need the kind of usage where he can harm you. His defense is going to provide a floor that keeps him out there, and the shooting is the cherry on top that really solidifies him as a value add. If he ever adds anything legitimate off the dribble to the rim, whatever, we're talking about star level impact, and that's something that's going to make him a whole dimension better than Cam Thomas because he'll have okay offense and amazing defense as opposed to really good offense and non-existent defense. In the aggregate, I think Trey Murphy would be the better player. I'm going to go with him. And what I just kind of went into is why I have him over guys like Cam Thomas or even guys like I don't know, Josh Giddey or whoever in a redraft scenario is because to me, Trey Murphy is going to be worth having out there on the court, even if he's not scoring over 16 a game long term.
Bro, you said that absolutely flawlessly. He's my Tari Eason of this draft and was pre-draft too.
Yeah.
Like I had him top 10 pre-draft, but like it's the usage thing and it's the opportunity thing. Like if he was, let's say you swap places with Cam Thompson. Cam Thompson's looking closer to Jordan Clarkson, Jordan Hawkins, even opportunity wise. Trey Murphy's averaging 20-ish. The biggest disagreement I had with what you just talked about there was off the dribble. I think he is actually pretty good. It's just he doesn't have to do that. The team doesn't need him to do that.
Again,
The
they had Ingram, so I understand.
No,
But
I
also
hate the Zion Ingram Trey Murphy fit. I want Brandon Ingram elsewhere so we can see what Trey Murphy can really bring because I do think he has an all-star ceiling if
but I
Brandon
think there's
Ingram's not
something
there.
to kind of keeping Murray's shot diet slimmed down. I think that's where you'll get the most out of him. I think if you're asking him to
That's
create,
fine.
you'll be in trouble. Now they have DeJounte Murray and Zion, and so I would say now they'd be fine moving BI, but again, they'd need to do it for someone additive. Like if they could move BI for Franz, they would do it in a second. We know, like, yeah.
Let me ask you this. If they got rid of CJ McCollum, is there any world you think Trey could play the two?
I mean, sure. I
You
don't.
think he's quick enough
I
defensively?
think you just want him at the 3 and then maybe at the 4, depending on the matchup. But I would say the 3 is his spot. He's not stocky like
DeJounte, Trey, Brandon Ingram, Zion, and Valanciunas is gone. So who would be the five? I mean,
so that's the thing is their like death lineup is Zion at the 5.
okay, then who do you throw? I mean, do you throw CJ in there and Brandon Ingram at the
That's the
four?
thing.
Like,
Like if they
there's
this is like let's get ridiculous, right? Like if they could have
yeah,
gotten
you like
Caruso for Brandon
right
Ingram, that would have been
for
amazing for
Brandon
them
Ingram? What?
because
God damn it, that's terrible.
DeJounte and Caruso with Trey and Zion, and then spending that extra money on a 5, like keeping Valanciunas, to me is better than CJ, DeJounte, Trey, Zion, Eve, Misi.
Yeah,
So
Trey's
whatever.
been great in the opportunity he's been giving. He's averaging 15 off 18 usage, 18% usage. I still think he's gonna just get better in the role he has. I mean, DeJounte coming in might impact his growth a little bit from a scoring perspective as well.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so if Trey Murphy, I didn't even finish what I was gonna say. If he was in Cam Thomas's position, I would take him. If he was on Brooklyn right now, I would probably take him number 2 or 3. I'd in this draft. He would literally jump up that many guys for me in this redraft. But anyways, I had Trey Murphy 10 in my redraft.
I had him at 5.
On your redraft board?
Yeah.
I love it. Good for you.
So
I'm proud of you.
with 2, 4, 6, and 8, I got the guys that were 2, 3, 4, and 5 on my board.
Wow, that's great. But
I'm
that's only because I screwed up on Scotty. So
You took Cam
you're not going
Thomas
to
in
be
the
able to
top
brag
10.
about that one. I'm not going to allow that.
Oh,
So
you know I'm gonna
I'm
do it
letting you
anyway.
have him.
All right,
But
ninth
anyways,
overall pick. Who do you got?
eighth overall pick. Nope, you're
I
right.
took Trey Murphy
You're
with
right.
8.
You're right. All right, we're
You're
not
up.
screwing up this one again. Number 9. This guy was number 5 for me pre-draft. I think it's almost a make or break year for this guy, but he could do exactly what he did last year and still continue to break out. And that's Jonathan Kuminga. No, sorry. He's one down. Nope, not taking Jonathan Kuminga here. I'm
What?
taking Jalen Johnson. Boom. Yes, Jalen Johnson at number
Okay.
9. Jalen Johnson. That's a final pick. It's in shaking the commissioner's hand right now. I like his opportunity more than Kuminga's. I think he's a more polished. Can I say that is a little better than Kuminga right now? Or I just think Kuminga's upside, one game upside, is probably a little higher
I
than
think
Jalen
I think
Johnson right
Kuminga
now.
is a better player today than Jalen Johnson, but
I
also
just think the
Jalen
team he's
Johnson
on doesn't.
played 22 games year one. Like he
Right.
hasn't had as much experience.
Whose defense do you like better?
Kuminga.
Really? Okay. It's close to me. And that
I think it is close. I think
okay.
I agree
At
it's
least I think
close.
it's close. All right. So
I'm with
he
you.
went. Jalen Johnson went from 2 points to 5 points to 16 last year. 16 and 8.7 rebounds, 3.6 assists. Like the leap was insane last year. Playing 56 games, so I thought it was all real. Uh, People were really high on John Collins. I was really high on John Collins. I think this guy is almost as good as whatever you thought John Collins was.
Real ball knowers knew the John Collins extension the second it was signed was going to age like milk on the
I mean,
pavement
I was wrong about
in
that,
mid-July.
but I knew he would falter in Utah because just the backup of
I
the
got
the
so much
clusterfuck
hate.
there.
I got so much hate on my college radio station for saying the Collins deal was like awful and that he wasn't that good because he couldn't create offense, nor was he a defender. And so basically like being Trey's lob threat and being an okay enough shooter got him paid like 7 million more a year than he should have. Like that was not that extension was had disaster written all over it from day zero.
I think it's going to be
Anyway,
really close, and when this thing plays out between these two, I think their opportunities are very close. Would you agree to that? I mean, sounds like you lean Kuminga, obviously, but I had Jalen Johnson, 8 on my redraft board. I'm taking him at 9. I had Kuminga 9, and I'm guessing you're going to be taking him here. But this tier 2 for me is literally, strictly based on opportunity. I think they're all that close from like a ceiling perspective. Floor, we could argue that till we're blue in the face, but this tier 2, all based on ceiling and opportunity. So that's why I went Jalen Johnson, because I think there's still
I hear you. Meat on the
still
bone
some,
and he can play
yeah.
make and score. And I'll be quick here, right? Because I'm gonna shock you. And so I'm gonna do it with
Oh boy.
speed to really shock you. I will let you have Jonathan Kuminga, who I had number 5 pre-draft. Basketball needs
What?
New Jersey. I loved Kuminga.
Pre-draft. Yeah.
Pre-draft, I had number 5. Now, on my board for the redraft, I had Kuminga at 7. And I'm gonna take with the 10th pick, who I had at 6, someone who I think offensively is as good as Kuminga right now, who defensively is maybe the second best defender, or if not, he's guaranteed a top 3 defender in this draft class right now and long term. I'm gonna go with Jalen
Perfect.
Suggs.
Oh wow. I
I'm gonna
said Herb
I'm
Jones and
I'm gonna go with
uh,
Jalen Suggs. I think he will be on Team USA in 2028 as their Derek White,
there's a hot pick. I
unless
like
White is
that.
still around and elite at his role, in which case he'll just make it again. Um, to me, Suggs is going to develop in all the right ways, especially if Orlando adds primary talent. If they don't, only good for him, right? So he'll either get better now on the ball, and then once they add talent at guard, um, get better at off the ball, or if they add talent at guard sooner rather than later, he'll get better at playing off ball. Whatever it is, he's going to get better at something soon offensively. And he's already like, okay, like he's fine. I think he's just about as good as Kuminga offensively. Defensively, it's not even a conversation. Um, and so I'm going to go with Suggs. I think he's the best player available here. And with the 11th pick, I will just hand you John Kuminga because having Suggs is that important to me.
I love that. And I don't disagree with anything you said. I think his ceiling is definitely, because he's so young, is slightly higher than Derek White.
But
I think it's as high as Drew Holiday. I'll go even there. I think his ceiling is as high as Drew Holiday.
can never really run point guard, but when
Yeah,
surrounded by talent, is
that's
definitely a guard who
that's my butt. My butt is he falls into the Marcus Smart, Derek White trap where he's borderline sixth, seventh man, and um, they might choose a scoring two over the defensive two. And this team doesn't have a point guard right now, but he fits because Franz and Paulo and Wendell Carter Jr. are great passers,
Yep.
and Jonathan Isaac's a really smart guy. So I think he fits in with this team right now, and I think he can develop great. Uh, he's lower on my board strictly based off his ceiling. Okay, that's it. Uh, not he's only a couple picks down here, but he's in my tier three. I'm completely okay with you taking him here. And yeah, I mean, if you think he's better than Kuminga now, that's fine. I mean, his 3-point percentage, a lot of people forget. He's basically a 40% 3-point shooter.
How many threes per game is he taking?
What would you guess?
2.8.
Wrong. 5.1.
What?
Yeah, and he went from 21 to
Four.
32
Oh my
to
God.
40%. The dude is on a growth trajectory, but like his assists are declining, and that's strictly because of Paulo and
Paolo
Franz
and
and
Franz.
their play. Yeah.
I was so
So
wrong about the 3-pointers per game.
yeah, so he
Wow.
works. And if those guys keep getting better at passing and playmaking, they don't need a freaking point guard. They can just find shooting. They need shooting. And KCP might be that guy. And there's their starting five if you really believe in Franz and Paulo's ceiling. So yeah, in that scenario, sure, you can believe in Jalen Suggs' ceiling. Absolutely. I just think Kuminga's ceiling is higher, and that's why I had him above him. And I will be taking Kuminga at 11.
At
I
11.
already touched on Kuminga, so just keep this thing rolling.
I love it. 3 picks to go. 12th pick coming up. I'm going to go with who you thought I was taking 2 picks ago. I'm going to take Herb Jones here. Very complimentary, very additive basketball player. When it comes to the offensive side of the court, obviously he's not some stud, but he's good enough. He's good enough to be out there considering that his defense is clutch game stop, one possession worthy. It's like I just you can island him, you can use him off ball. He'll do both on his own. He has no in between game. He has absolutely no in between game. This is a very Maury Ball type of player. Guarantee he would have found his way onto the Westbrook Harden or Paul Harden Rockets teams if he were around back then. Maury would have just done what it took to get
Oh my
him.
God.
I really think that's it for
You
me
put
on.
this Herb Jones on those teams, they beat the Warriors for sure. For sure. He's better than Trevor Ariza.
Ooh.
Send that one out to Rockets fans. Send that one out. They'll be all over me. Oh fuck that. Yeah.
I think I might agree.
I'm
2017 Ariza was a
I know that Ariza so freaking well. I
but
loved those teams.
2016 and 2017 Ariza was good enough on offense to make me say if it was 2016 to
What's
17
Ariza
Ariza,
doing
if it's
better than Herb
2016 to
Jones on off?
2017 to like those 2015 to 2017 Ariza, I'm going Ariza. But most like I get what you're saying. Ariza is nice though.
He's very good. And I think Herb Jones is very good.
Very
Like
good.
the only difference is Trevor Ariza, I mean, that was back in
Dude,
20.
this is like what this pod exists for. Would Herb Jones have been better than Trevor Ariza on
I
the
love that.
Maury
I
Harden
love these
Rock? Like
debates.
this is our niche, bro. This is no one gives a
This,
shit about any of this except for the 200 people that are gonna listen to this,
you know,
and that's our family. Like those are our people.
we should title this Herb Jones or Trevor Ariza. God damn.
Okay, let's keep it pushing. I'm gonna
Yep.
I'm gonna rush this along here. 2 picks left. Number 13, Zach, you are going with.
Number 11 guy on my board, and that's the newest point guard of the Chicago Bulls, Josh Giddey.
Wow.
High ceiling yet. High ceiling, very low
Okay.
floor.
He was 17 on mine.
Wow. All right. I just, again, opportunity here. His opportunity is going to be golden this year.
Yes.
And
16, 7 and 7 in the most forgettable season of all time is coming up to theaters near you.
but I thought you said Kobe White's an all-star. So if Kobe White's an all-star and Josh Giddey goes 16, 7 and 7, This team's gonna be nasty.
They're gonna win. They're gonna win 31 games.
Ooh, that'd be a good year
29.
for a good growing young Bulls team.
They need a Pat Whale leap.
Oh,
Um,
a
we
huge,
won't get
huge.
stuck in the weeds here. Before I make my final pick, Zach, who are the top three guys available on your board? I know who I'm picking already. Whatever you say won't change it.
The
Go on.
top three guys available on my board would be Corey Kispert, Io Dosunmu, and then this one is up for a lot of guys, but I had at number 16, the next guy available will be Santi Aldama.
Wow. Okay. Top three available on my board: Isaiah Jackson, Deuce
What?
McBride, Deuce McBride.
Those guys aren't even NBA players.
Deuce McBride's not an NBA player.
I
I'm
needed
banning you from this
I
show.
needed to throw that out.
All
Okay,
things
I had
NBA from K to K is coming to you, dude.
Deuce McBride's 18 on my board.
Okay. All right. You are forgiven. And Aaron Wiggins was next up for me. Quentin Grimes just missed the cut, but he was 16 on my board. I'm gonna go with Deuce McBride here over Isaiah Jackson because McBride has shown that he can do it in the playoffs. He came into last season not in the Knicks rotation. He ended up a starter by playoff time. That was because of injuries. But damn it, did he hold the goddamn line? He was a dog. And so for Deuce McBride, with me, it's about in a league full of jumbo initiators, like you were saying with Franz and Paolo, he fits perfectly on a team where there's a wing forward or big that creates offense because he's not a traditional point guard. Everyone knows it. But if you have anyone from the 2 to the 5 that can create, he is going to guard the point of attack like his mother's life depends on it. I mean, this guy does what Eastern Conference playoff teams that are good have done for my whole lifetime, which is stop the other team's first offensive action, force them into backup plan B, force them into whatever other sets they have, force them into a broken, free flowing, whoever offense. Whatever it is, McBride is going to ruin your offensive game plan at the point of attack. And maybe you'll score 60% of the time, whatever the hell, right? But the point is that it's never going to be comfortable for you when Deuce is out there. In his short time in the NBA, he has outplayed Kyle Lowry head to head, Steph Curry head to head. He has outplayed plenty of top guards, Chris Paul head to head. This is a guy who is
You
much
sound like
better.
me talking about Isaiah Thomas's 2 year stretch.
This is a
But
guy.
instead of Deuce McBride's just went on a 1-2 game Jeremy Lin run in New York.
No, he
Not
went on a
even.
quarter season Jeremy Lin run in New York, and part of it was
That sounds
fucking.
better than a Jeremy Lin run. What are
Or
we gonna
part of it
do?
was the playoffs. Lynn could never. All right. With all
Wow.
that said, Deuce McBride's rounding this out for me. We're gonna go through the picks one last time.
Just
Okay.
real quick, I
Go.
just need to say something. The reason why I actually was serious when I said he's not an NBA player
You're going to hell. Go
is
on.
yeah. Okay, he sent me on the roller coaster of a lifetime. Pre-draft, I loved him. After year one, I hated him. After year two, I thought he'd be out of the league.
He
And then
didn't
year,
play year
just
one. He was
hear me
in
out. Hear me out.
Westchester. Why'd you
Hear me
hate
out.
him? What did he do?
Uh, he didn't do anything I thought he would do until year three. He got his opportunity. He never did get his opportunity in the NBA. So, like, you're never truly wrong about somebody unless they get an opportunity. He got an opportunity this year, and so he made me look right about him from pre-draft. And him and Dante DiVincenzo did the exact same thing. They were incredible this year when they played, but now he's going to go back to not playing at all. So I want him on like the
Deuce will
Timberwolves
play.
or
Deuce will play.
what? We're going to have that
He's gonna
conversation
play
sometime
12 to
because
14 a game,
that's
probably.
the guy that deserves 20 to 25 somewhere. He's an NBA player, but like the Knicks are going to turn him into a non-NBA player this year. I think he'll get less than 10 minutes
He'll
probably.
turn into better Tyus Jones or better than Tyus Jones on a contender, which is like 12 minutes a game. I don't see a
So this conversation is exactly why I had Corey Kispert above him and Io is because the
Duke.
Knicks are
Io's never been
loaded.
better than Deuce at basketball.
This is the first 10 games Deuce has been better than him. Io's been great since he came into the league. He
Deuce
just
was
hasn't.
better in Westchester than Iowa. He
Westchester,
just because
good
he
for
wasn't
him.
playing in the NBA doesn't mean that he wasn't better than someone in the NBA. He just there was no room for him on the roster. They had him in Westchester.
We're talking about NBA players. If you want to make the argument better player, whatever. But that's tough. All right,
Yep.
wrap us up here.
All right. So to recap, Zach took Cade. I took Mobley. Zach took Schengen. I took Franz.
Scotty
Zach
Barnes.
Zach took Jalen Green. I took Scotty Barnes. Zach took Cam Thomas. I took Trey Murphy. Zach took Jalen Johnson. I took Jalen Suggs. Zach took John Kuminga. I took Herb Jones. Zach took Josh Giddey. I took Deuce McBride. And that is going to wrap up our lottery redraft from the 2021 NBA draft. Um, Listen, I think I washed you in this one, whether you got Scotty or not. I think you taking Giddy and Cam Thomas instead of Trey Murphy and Deuce McBride will haunt you in your nightmares and dreams. And
I made a mental error, man. I
I'm
was a
very
mental midget today. I didn't
whether
show up when I
whether
needed to
you
take.
if you got Scotty when you wanted him or not, I washed you because I
It's
think
just like having a stern commissioner and you're going through that fantasy football draft and you select it and they say there are no take backs.
no takebacks.
Uh, yeah, I'm gonna forever hate you for not doing that. No, I'm just kidding. But a couple last notes. I mean, I want to shout out Trey Mann, 17 on my board, Quentin Grimes, 19, Davion Mitchell, 20, Moses Moody, Aaron Wiggins, Bones Highland. The last thing I want to say, this is our second redraft now. I love doing these shows, great conversation. This draft is basically equal to the last draft we did.
Yes.
That's how I feel. I think they're pretty identical. The next draft, not so equal.
It's the best one of them all.
Yeah.
2020 is the best one of them all. You had all-stars going in the second round. All right. With all that said, thank you all so much for tuning in. We will be redrafting the 2020 NBA draft very soon. Stay tuned for that. If you haven't seen our 2022 redraft, go check it out. It's right on our channel, the video before this one. If you're listening, rate this thing 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, thumbs up, subscribe, turn that notification bell on so you don't miss a pod. For Zach Noble, I'm Kris Persianen saying thank you so much for tuning in to All Things NBA presented by Ball is Life, and we will see you next time.